This is Larry McGee. We're back here with the next video on the Colorado contract for buyer listing. We're going to pick up this section at 19, but first again the disclaimer that these videos are for the exclusive use of agents that are contracted or employed by the Berkshire Group Realtors in Denver, and not for the use of anyone else. I suggest if anyone else sees these and wants to make use of the information contained therein, that they discuss anything they're doing in a contract with their employing broker. Okay, that said, we'll pick up at 19 with additional provisions. I don't believe there's a great deal of need for additional provisions in this particular contract. There may be the occasional situation where a buyer says, gee, I've been working with Joe Blow over at another brokerage, and Joe showed me a lot of houses. There's one in particular, so before I commit to you, I want some sort of exclusion, giving me the right to go work with Joe on this particular property. I think when somebody says that to you, that they're not really fully committed to you. There may be occasions where you want to jump into that situation, but I think that that might be a bit difficult and create a lot of issues for you, because the other agent probably has some sort of agency agreement themselves. Again, the consumers tend to do what they want to do. It's our job to make sure that we are protecting them and ourselves with the appropriate contractual documents. So again, not a lot to say in additional provisions in this particular contract. There are a few things, however, to talk about in the attachments, and we're going to click here on Docs List. We're going to open up a little window up here that we can take a quick look at. There's a couple of documentation or a couple of attachments that you may want to include here. One of them would be brokerage disclosure regarding new construction contracts. And I think it's certainly worthwhile to make sure that we include the brokerage disclosure to buyer. So we're going to simply add this one to the group and go, and that will insert these in here. At the conclusion of this, we'll come back and take a look at these two additional documents. Moving on to 21, notice, delivery, and choice of law. Physical delivery, all notices must be in writing, except as provided with electronic delivery in 21.2. Any document is effective upon physical receipt. Delivery to buyer is effective when physically received by buyer, any signature on behalf of buyer, any named individual of buyer or representative of buyer. Well, that's us. So if we receive a counter or a contract counter proposal, it's assumed then that the consumer, our client, has received that counter proposal. So you want to very quickly review any kind of documentation that is going to affect your client and get back in contact with your client as soon as physically possible. Electronic delivery as an alternative to physical delivery, and quite honestly, this is the way most of our business is conducted today. We use electronic delivery, either facsimile, email, or internet. I recommend you check all three of those boxes. I'm sure there's the occasional consumer who says, no, I don't want to do anything electronically. I want paper brought to me. I want original copies. I want to sit down and have you review things, and I want to sign things. That does happen. If it does, it does. If we have a client that simply doesn't want electronic communication, so be it. Don't check the boxes, and make sure you're allowing appropriate time to physically interact with your consumer. Choice of law. This contract is written in and for and by the state of Colorado, and it's applicable to Colorado residents who sign a contract in this state for property located in Colorado. Modification of this contract. We're not going to modify it. If we are, we're going to create a document. All parties are going to sign it. And there is a document, the contract to amend a brokerage contract, or the amendment to amend brokerage contract is a document we could use to modify it. As long as everyone signs, we can modify, but we can't modify without everyone signing off. Counterparts certainly can occur where Our parties are separated. The mister is here looking at a job situation. She's still back home in Ohio, or vice versa. She's here looking at a job. He's back home in Ohio. And we want to get this document executed sooner rather than later. We can have counterparts signed. Again, it's all done electronically, so counterparts becomes a little less of an issue here when it's all done electronically. The entire agreement, this contract is the agreement between the parties. It's really pretty simple. Copy a contract. Well, if we're sending it to them electronically, then the buyer should be acknowledging a receipt of the copy, signed by the broker, and you should have your contract set up in CTM to automatically sign all of your documents, including all the attachments. In Megan's Law, down here at the very end, if the presence of registered sex offender is a matter of concern to buyer, buyer understands that buyer must contact local law enforcement officials regarding information. I think beyond that, beyond Megan's Law, when we have consumers that want to know about things in the neighborhood that are of particular concern to them, whether it's crime statistics, transportation corridors, the ability to find a bus close by, bus schedules, community protection and law enforcement services, anything that they believe is going to affect their life if they purchase this particular property. We want to make sure we do two things. One, research it ourselves so we know the answer, and two, tell them where to go to research so they can get the answers. If we give them the answers to their questions, by and large, we've accepted responsibility for that information. It's not something we want to do. We want to assist them in locating the information, and I think it's really important that we understand the information that our consumers are getting. That doesn't necessarily mean we want to intercede and give that to them, because then we're assuming that responsibility. We don't want to do that. Last line here before the checkboxes, brokerage firm authorizes broker to execute this buyer listing contract on behalf of the brokerage firm. What that's basically saying is that the firm, owned and managed by me, Larry McGee, is authorizing all of you to execute this buyer listing contract and any other contracts that we have available to us. Now, I would recommend here that we check this box, do not display buyer info in print preview. And as we get in here, we find Mr. Blow again, his street number, street name. Those may be appropriate pieces of information to insert in these contracts. Please, under no circumstances do you put in Social Security number. I don't know why you'd have it, but do not in any way, shape, or form insert a Social Security number in any form, in any of our electronic forms. We absolutely do not need to know, have no desire to know our consumer Social Security number, so don't insert that. Electronic address, that's their email address, etc., etc. This document is between the consumer and you. This information is not going to go out to anybody else. So I think having the phone, fax, cell phone, electronic address, those things are a convenience to you. So I think you should probably place them there. Again, broker's name is me in this case, the company name, there's my electronic address, personal notes related to this contract. I'm not sure what those would be, but there could be all kinds of reasons why we might want to make some personal notes in this particular contract. If so, here's your opportunity to do it. NA. Now, I personally think you should remove NA. NA basically makes a particular section not applicable to the contract. If there's some reason that there's something that should not be applicable in this or any other contract, you should insert NA or none or not applicable or whatever the appropriate words are, and generally get in the habit of removing this so that NA doesn't automatically flow into anything that you might have forgotten along the way. Now, this is a real good time to save this contract, and I'll do so now. I could have saved it in any number of times along the way up here with this save button. And we can go look at our print preview, not something I need to do right now. And of course, if we save, we go all the way back up to the top. Now, down here, we've got allow all company agents to copy this template contract. This is not a template, so I'm not worried about that. And there's other forms that we can add to this as we go along. So right now what we've done is we completed the contract itself. On the next video, I'm going to open up the document window, and we'll take a look at those two documents and make sure that we're appropriately adding those documents to this contract. So that's it for the buyer listing contract. I'll be back with the final video on this contract with the additional documents. Thank you.